In this video, we're continuing the critique of specifications that were really turned in for the launcher project. Okay, so here's another one. The team name Top Pong. Okay, so here's the customer's description. People wanting to attempt to launch round ping pong balls through square holes. Okay, that's I think they're trying to go for sort of a play on a phrase there. Um, what my critique here is it doesn't really narrow it down to an audience that I can identify with. Okay, so I would try to be more specific about my customer in this particular case. All right, so let's take a look at some of the specifications. They say that the device is mobile. Okay, well, they get more specific on the compliance plan. And I actually think that would be better suited as moving that over exactly as it is into the technical specification part. And then the compliance plan would be you would measure the size of the device and you would weigh it and make sure that it meets the specification. Right? So we talked about that before, that the compliance plan is what you're going to do to verify the specification. Okay, next, you can change the angle at which the ball is launched. Okay, so here it's more specific. Ping pong ball can be moved through a full 360 degrees with the stance of the person holding it. Okay, so the person is actually rotating. There's a little disconnect there because I think if your technical specification, if your customer is going to allow all the variability to be taken care of by the person aiming it, I think that would be something you specify that would be okay to do. Okay. So, you see what I'm saying? The actual device itself, it doesn't sound like the device itself has any way of changing the angle of launch. And so I don't think that's truly a specification in this case. Okay, next the specification is launches approximately 2 meters. Okay, so approximately, usually you would say something more definitive like it launches at least 2 meters or it launches between 1.5 and 3.5 meters, something like that, more definitive, not just an approximation. Okay. On the technical compliance plan, they get into the specifics of the design. It says incorporate motors powerful enough to propel the ball to travel 2 meters from the device. Okay, well, that was more about the design. The compliance plan would be demonstrate that the device can propel the ball to travel at least 2 meters. It sounds like that's what they intend for the specification. And again, what would happen if you tried this 10 times and it only was able to launch it 2 meters 9 times? Is that acceptable? Okay, so normally on a compliance plan, you're going to need to account for the degree of reliability that you have. If you want to do it every time, you say, well, we're going to launch this 10 times, and 10 times it's going to travel 2 meters. Okay, so the other thing to think about as you're putting together your compliance test plan, of course, is what will your device be willing or able to accomplish, okay? And so you want to make sure that as an engineer, you're trying to specify a compliance test plan that you can meet, okay, and still satisfy the customer. Okay, easy to hold, okay? So it says easy to hold, handle made grips for an individual. Again, this is more into the design. That's not really a compliance plan. If you said easy to hold, you could probably put words like this over in the specification if that's what the customer had in mind. Okay. You could also put things about weight. Maybe what's easy to hold? Is 50 pounds easy to hold? That's probably too heavy. So try to come up with more detailed specifications on that. Okay, the compliance plan could be, in this case, a survey like we did, like I talked about in one of the other examples, where you ask 5 people and say, on a scale of 1 to 5, how is this in terms of being easy to hold. All right, so you get something more meaningful out of just compared to just you judging it. That's not really a compliance plan if you're just saying, oh, it's easy to hold. Hopefully you see what I'm saying here. Okay, individual can practice aiming and shooting. Okay, it says relatively, I guess they mean relatively easily. All right, and then on the compliance plan, it says individual can practice by looking through PVC and shooting through cardboard holes. Okay, that's not really a compliance plan, and what they mean by aiming and shooting relatively easily, this is not a good specification. It would need to be tightened up. So that would be my feedback on that if you submitted something similar. Okay, so let's go to the fourth one, and by this time, hopefully you're seeing a general idea of what I'm looking for. All right, so on the fourth one, okay. All right, so the fourth one, I'm not sure what the device is, but they do have specific customers that I can more easily envision. Okay, fishermen, outdoorsmen. Now you got some idea of who your customer would be, and so you can envision how the product should perform based on essentially empathizing with the customer. All right. So technical specification is the angle is motor adjustable. Okay, yeah, I can see that being part. How you do it might be something the customer is interested in. There's lots of different ways to adjust an angle. In this project, we've been saying that you should use the Arduino. So the Arduino is really part of the specifications because it's something we're requiring you to use. So motor adjustable makes sense to me there. All right, but my suggestion for improvement would be, let's go ahead and move the 0 to 35 degrees into the specification if that's what the customer is wanting. Okay, and then the compliance plan would be more in the language of, we will demonstrate that the motor moves between 0 and 35 degrees. And one final thing is, does this mean continuous adjustment between 0 and 35, or are we going to have certain degrees that we can achieve, 0, 5, 10, 15, that kind of thing. Okay, meant to be fired at a slow, steady rate with a reloading phase. Okay, so this is, to me, this is not really a specification. It's really almost the reverse of a specification. It's saying, well, you don't need to worry about how you load it. Okay, so if you don't specify how you load it, then in a way, you're saying the same thing. So having this show up is sort of redundant, if you see what I'm saying. Okay. Over here in the compliance plan, they say the manual reloading has to be functional and easy. That would be more like a specification. Okay. So manual loading has to be functional and easy. From there, you might put some numbers to it. Like I can load, I can show that I can load and fire 5 items within 1 minute. All right, that would be, the implication there would be, it's easy enough to manually load that you can do it fast. All right, so that would be more like that specification I'd be looking for. Okay. Distance at least 10 feet. I prefer a little more complete sentence. The launch distance needs to be a minimum, at least 10 feet. I like the at least part in there. Okay, and we've talked about this before. On your compliance test plan, you would say, I'm going to shoot this, I'm going to launch my projectile 10 times, and 9 times it's going to go at least 10 feet, something like that. Okay. Weighs under 10 pounds. Okay, that's a valid specification. The compliance plan would be that we would measure the weight and verify the specification. Okay. Next, it says fire without obstruction. Okay, so to me, this specification seems to suggest that they have a design in mind, and there's something there that they're worried about. So, like if you look at the compliance plan, it says line not caught, projectile fires without interference from another part fixated on the launcher. Okay, so clearly they have some design in mind that they're worried about and they want to do a fix. I would say that's not really a specification. That's more of a design problem for that particular launcher. Okay, I think it's pretty, you don't need to specify that you need to fire without obstruction, because you wouldn't be able to fire if there were an obstruction. So my critique on this would have been that's not a specification. Okay, so hopefully these examples help you write your specifications. You'll have an idea of what I'm looking for, and then I'm hoping to be able to give you feedback pretty quickly on your specifications so that we can develop what's important here is the compliance plan.